Good morning, everyone. Let us all have our prayer. So bow your head and let us all feel the presence of the Lord. For the attendance that we have, leaders, please check the attendance. If there are no absences, let us start the class. Welcome to the Fortunato F. Halili National Agricultural School. Senior high school student, you are having your subject in empowerment technology. What is this for? So before I discuss the coverage of the topic that we have, I would like to introduce to you the topic that we have today, and that is the imaging and design for the online environment. For the objectives that we have today, the learners must be able to first identify and explain the basic principles of graphics and layout. For the number two objectives, you need to explain the vital use of the basic principle of graphics and layout in line of communication and industry. Number three objectives, you need to assess the effectiveness of the graphic design in a given layout. And for number four, the last objective, you need to evaluate the existing websites and online resources based on the principles of layout, graphic, and visual message design. What makes a good and effective website? And how do users interact with the websites they visit? Considering the characteristic of a good website, these are the characteristics of a good website. Number one, you need to have the target audience. Number two, you need to determine its needs. Number three, characteristic of a good website, you need to communicate effectively using the basic principles of graphics and layout. In a good website, learners should always consider these things. Usability is very important for the user as it satisfies their experience on the website. But a good design will drag the audience's attention to stay on this page. A good website always remember that the first impression lasts, and a web design has an impact on the users on how they perceive the brand or the message. Branding is another thing that you need to consider in designing. In branding, there are things that it contains. Number one, it contains logo, tagline, mission and vision, the goals, typography, tone of the voice, the icons or the elements, and lastly, the colors. What is a graphic design? Graphic design is an artistic way of communicating ideas and messages through visual expressions, using the text, the images, and symbols. Here are samples of graphic design. It contains 1. Website, 2. Advertisement, 3. Posters, 4. Flyers, 5. Logos, 6. Videos, and lastly, number 7. Any other multimedia form. So these are examples of a graphic design that you may use in your designs. So, class, another thing that you need to consider is the difference between graphic design versus layout. When you say graphic design, this is the creation of an idea through So, a combination of text, images, and other elements that are placed together artistically. In contrast, or vice versa, the layout is always organizes and arranges these elements in a design as you plot it on paper or in any other blackboard or board. And that is how you understand what is graphic design versus layout. Here are the basic principles of designs and layout. Balance is referring to the proper arrangement of the elements, giving the design in a visual way. When you say balance, everything is considered equal. We have two types of balance. One is symmetrical balance and number two is asymmetrical balance. What is symmetrical balance? It is where the elements are equally distributed on both sides of your design. Technically, a mirror based on design. But when you say asymmetrical balance, it is a pre-layout where the elements can be placed in any order on the opposite of symmetrical. Number two basic principles of designs and layout is the emphasis. What is emphasis? It refers to something that needs to stand out or being emphasized. When working on emphasis, you can change the color, you can change the size, or even any elements that you want to change that can lead to the eye that serve as the focal interest of the persons who are showing and seeing it. And that is the number two principles, emphasis. Number three basic principles of designs and layout is the pattern, repetition, and rhythm. What are the importance of these words? When you say pattern, repetition, and rhythm, it is the use of the repetitive elements such as line, shapes, forms, textures, space, colors, font, style, and the like creates texture with movements, with continuity and consistency in the particular design. It also makes the design formal and more comfortable to read because of its uniformity. And that is the pattern, that nexus to repetitions and rhythm. Number four basic principles of designs and layout is none other than alignment. Alignment is refers to correctly placing an element in your design, like invisibly setting or aligning your text or images in a diagonally form, vertically, and horizontally. The standard of text or paragraph alignments are applied at the center, in the right, left, and being justified. And that is alignment in a correct form of the use of margins. Number five basic principles of designs and layout is hierarchy. What is this word? This word refers to the proper arrangement of the details such as text, characters, numbers, and symbols. Changing its character, size, thickness, spaces, or even the font type to stand out as its most critical feature. By applying this principle, it can help the viewer to recognize and navigate the highlight of the event smoothly. Another basic principles, number 6 principles in layout and design is the contrast. When you consider the word contrast, it refers to the use of different or opposite elements, such as contrast in size, contrast in form, contrast in texture, contrast in shape. When you say shapes, we have different kind of shapes that is contrast or differ from one another, and those are the geometric or abstract in shapes. Another example of contrast is the spaces. When you say contrast in spaces, there are spaces that are negative or positive. Another example of contrast is in the use of colors. When you use contrast in colors, it can be produced in a form of monochromatic, complementary, triadic, and tetradic. So those are contrasts in the form of the use of colors. Another basic principles of design and layout for number 7 is the unity and harmony. What is this word? It refers to the relationship of the elements or the contents when you place them together. The design elements must work together and agree to its meaning, theme, feeling, or mood. And that is the number 7 basic principle, the unity and the harmony with a proper relationship of the place that has been formed together. The design must work together and agree to its meaning, to the theme, to the feeling, or to the mood.